Oh, yeah, baby. We are live back in action, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers. This is the Power 32 podcast in the house right now with your smart ass, Kenny Culp, and Mr. Primetime 313, Mr. David Dale in the house, baby. But we got a special guest today, and I can't wait to introduce him right now. One of the best freaking offensive linemen I have ever seen, ever to play the game. 9th overall draft pick by the Miami Dolphins in 1990. First team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, member of the 1990s All-Decade team. Do you know what that means, everybody? The whole freaking damn decade, okay?
Yeah.
Get it with it.
Yeah.
All right. And also member of the Miami Dolphins honor roll, Mr. Richmond Webb in the house. What's up, baby? How you doing?
Hey, gentlemen. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing?
Great.
Absolutely great.
Fantastic. Great to have you in here today. We really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. We had a good time last time, so it'll give us a chance to catch up. And it's been a minute, but yeah, thanks for having me on the show, and I appreciate that introduction. You make me think I could play a little bit back in the day.
You can still play.
Well deserved, man. Well deserved. And, that's a good topic for another day is the fact that you will be in the Hall of Fame someday. And whether it's next year or the year after that, it's well deserved and that will be happening. There's no freaking question about it. You are one of the best that I had ever seen, and you had to play against some of the damn best. And we'll get into that, man. We got a lot of Q&A to go through with you, man. But all fair, as you said, we haven't spoken in a while. You wouldn't have come back on here if you knew I was going to attack you. So ain't none of that's going on. It's all brotherly love over here, even though we ain't in Philadelphia.
That's all it is.
All brotherly
it's
love.
All love. That's it.
So let's hit it, baby. Yo, so the combine, Scanner Combine just happened. I know that you were a part of it, all right? Things may be a little bit different now with social media crap that's going on, and they get more, exposure and whatnot. But you were already, a high prospect coming out. So you probably didn't even have to do the combine, but you did it. Do you feel like it benefited you?
I think it definitely benefited me. I think it helped propel me higher. What I mean by that, by the end of my senior season, they were kind of projecting me late first round, early second, and then I went and played in the Senior Bowl. I had a good workout at the Senior Bowl, and so that kind of pushed me to the middle of the pack, and then went to the combine and had a pretty good workout at the combine, and then that put me in the top 10. So you can use it to your benefit, and it definitely helped propel me. And then I think the other thing was the year I came out, it was like a class of a bunch of offensive linemen that were really highly touted. So once I kind of pushed myself up there, if you needed a lineman, it kind of made it a necessity. So I think that helped out as well.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That makes sense, man. I mean, because again, being the 9th overall pick, that means a lot of teams are after you, and you could have gone to a lot of teams, but you went to the Miami Dolphins, and that's where you played a lot of great ball, and we're going to get into some of that ball that you've been playing. But I know Mr. Primetime has got something for you right now.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, I'm just humbled and honored to even be able to sit here face to face with you and ask you, questions. But one of the first things I want to ask, the way that we know that the combine has become like this huge event now. For back in the day, it was barely covered. So right now, it's kind of like must-see TV for a lot of people. I'm personally not a huge fan of the combine as far as all the coverage that it gets. But do you think that the combine is an effective tool to determine how a player is going to be in the NFL, or do a lot of teams have their mind made up before the combine as to who they're going to pick? And I ask that just simply as someone who thinks that the combine may be a tad bit overrated.
Yeah, I'll say it like this. Guys kind of train for the combine. I guess they know the drills that's going to be performed, or you have to perform at the combine, so and you can train and work on them and get the technique to help you actually make your numbers better and stuff like that. It wasn't that way so much when I came out. You just knew you have to run 40, do the bench. You knew a bit. All the combos and stuff, I didn't know about that. But I think it's just the way things have evolved. I remember when I got drafted, it was a few guys went to New York and now you look at it, it's like the Oscars or something. And I went to last year, and then I went when it was in Nashville, and the NFL does such a tremendous job of putting it on, getting the fans involved. And so now once football is over, the Super Bowl is over, they keep putting little carrots out there that people keep biting on, and people crave information, and the more information, they just keep providing more and more coverage. And not only the NFL, but basketball, all of them, they kind of do it now. But I don't sit there and watch the combine because it's, like you said, there's nothing much really going on, but guys just working out. Some people can all day, and I'll watch for the highlights. Every now and then you might see I think it was a lineman from Missouri. He ran like a 4.9 at 335, which is rolling. You see stuff like that where people kind of just test off the charts. I think that helped improve their draft position, but at the end of the day, you got to watch that tape, and I think that's the eye test, that if you can play with them pads on, or you're a player this and that, I think that carries more weight than just testing well at the combine.
True, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, David, that's a great question. Great question right there. And to piggyback off that, you went into the draft a little bit, and you were highly touted again as a player coming into the NFL, knowing you're going to be a high draft pick. Players now, we hear a lot. I mean, it's almost like we know who the number 1, 2, and 3 picks are going to be like 5 weeks before the draft even comes out. Not as much like that, of course, when you were playing and when you were a rookie, of course. But did a lot of teams talk to you and give you an idea like, hey, if you're around at this number, we're going to pick you? Like, how many teams, if that many teams, did talk to you before being drafted?
Okay. Hold on 1 second, too.
Yeah,
okay.
That's live radio, baby.
My wife got her iPhone hooked up to this thing, and my daughter was calling FaceTime and flipped. I was freaking out. But more so, when I went to the Senior Bowl, I met with some GMs and some coaching scouts, stuff down there. But really, right before the draft, I got a call from the Dolphins, got a call from the Saints, and I believe it was New Orleans, and everybody was saying, if you're there, we're going to take you, but we think you're going off the board, but if you're there, we're going to take you. So I think it was just, I think a lot of teams call several different players because they know something crazy can happen. Somebody takes somebody that they don't think they should, and it shakes up the whole order of the draft. So I think Miami was the first team that actually called before the draft, and they said, and you kind of said, yeah, you don't know until you actually get the call. But man, when that phone rang and Coach Shula was on there and said, you ready to be a Dolphin? I was like,
wow.
That was a sigh of relief, because even though you're an early pick, it's still nerve-wracking because you just don't know when your name's going to get called. So, but once you get that, you can kind of settle down. And man, I was so happy and all that. I could breathe again. But just sitting at home with my parents and watching the draft on TV and watching that was back when it was Mel Kiper, the Swami, Tom Jackson.
Yep. I remember that. Yes, sir.
It was about 4. I'm missing somebody. I just can't think. But they would go through it and give you their picks. And Mel Kiper, this guy's from Texas A&M, and did this and that. So I kind of missed that. But the draft is still pretty cool. I like what they're doing with it now.
Yeah, well, you were drafted for a reason, and that's because Dan Marino was the quarterback of that team, and they needed somebody to block. All right, a bunch of guys coming through on the right-hand side or wherever it was. I mean, you don't play left tackle for, in the NFL for, 118 consecutive games or something like that? Is that a Dolphins record? I mean, who the hell does that on offensive line? That's not normal. So they drafted you for a good reason, and they hit a home run when they got you, bro.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of caught my eye when I was kind of doing some research for the show, you were the only offensive lineman that was taken in the first round, and the next offensive lineman wasn't taken until the second round, which happened to be your teammate Keith Sims.
Wow.
Do you take any pride? Because I know a lot of times nowadays we get these runs, especially middle of the round, first round, you'll see 3, 4 offensive linemen get taken and things like that. Do you take pride in the fact that you were the only offensive lineman picked in the first round of that draft? I think that was the Jeff George Jr. Seau draft, and you were the only offensive lineman that was taken in the first round, and Keith Sims was taken in the second round. Do you take any pride in that or wear that as a badge of honor?
I really don't. The thing I do wear as badge of honor was I was glad that I went to Miami and they took Keith with the second pick. I mean, we never played together, but it was just a perfect match, and we had so much success together. And I can remember being rookies, and one of the things when we first we met at the combine, but when I got to Miami for like mini camp, he was like, San Diego was supposed to take you, and then the Dolphins were gonna take me, but he would have been a first round. But that's what I say. And San Diego ended up taking Junior Seau, which he kind of declared late, and it made sense. He played at USC and was just a hell of a linebacker, and did a tremendous job. Played almost 20 years in the league, but we kind of laugh about it now. But being a rookie and being on the blind side of the quarterback, and then for Shula to put both of us on Marino's blind side, that was almost unheard of. But we had so much success together. I'm just glad it worked out the way it did. But I never just when I was online or whatever, I never looked at it that way. I was just happy to go and then make it. And then I think the thing you think about more is when you're first round pick, you don't want to be a bust. You want to prove that you're worthy of the pick that the team gets. And I think one of the keys is getting your contract worked out, signed, and getting in the camp early where you can get the reps. And that made a huge difference for both me and Keith. I think we had maybe the same day he signed the day after I did. And man, they threw us in there and we got so many reps, but it helped speed up the learning process, and the game kind of slowed down, and we it helped us a lot. We didn't think so at the time, but that was the best for.
That's awesome. That's amazing for, like you say, 2 rookies, and a coach like Don Shula, who's one of the greatest of all time, to have that faith in you guys. To just, hey, look, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You guys are side by side. You're going to protect them, and this is what we're going to roll with. So that to me, if I were in your situation, that'd be kind of something I would hang my hat on. That one of the greatest coaches of all time trusted me to protect one of the greatest coaches of all time, along with my rookie teammates. So that's pretty special.
That is. Yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head with that. Because I don't think many GMs or head coaches took the opportunity, maybe put one of us on one side and one on the other. But when you got a guy like Dan Marino that was already a legend to load up, because what they're got to face week in and week out, and for you to take that gamble or that chance, he showed he had faith in us. But just glad it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, you kind of lead me right into my next question, actually, because I wanted to ask you what it's like playing for Marino and playing for Coach Shula, and really the pressure that was there every year, because you guys were always expected to be contenders, and you were. I mean, you were a perennial playoff team, there's no doubt. But whether it was the Bills or the Steelers or the Broncos, there was always a team getting in your way. And I felt like that was mostly on the defense. And I'm not asking you to put your defense down necessarily, or the run game down, which I feel like is another thing that you guys were missing. But you were still a potent offense. What is it like going in with all those expectations every single year, knowing that you're one of the best teams out there, with one of the best quarterbacks out there, best offensive lines, and just
for me, I think the thing was, like you say, when you play for Coach Shula or a coach like that, he demands excellence. So we knew right away what was expected. And then I think the other good thing was we kind of had not so much we had a bunch of veteran leaders on offense. So we had Marino, we had Mark Duke, Mark Clayton. And when you go out and see how those guys prepare and practice every day, you got to fall in line, because you never want to be considered the weak team. So I think that was a key. But the expectation was there that, we're going to compete, try to win the division. If not, we're going to the playoffs. And then Coach Shula was sticking for the little things because I think he figured out that a lot of times it's the little things that cost you games. So penalties, mental error, knowing assignments, knowing what to do to be mentally prepared, not just physically prepared, but to be mentally prepared. And then you see, like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you see the way Clayton, Duper, and Marino went out and practiced, and you knew why they had a lot of success because they practiced like they played. And in order to produce on Sundays the way they did and have as much success as they did, that's what they did. So they had to fall in line. We were just two rookies, and they wasn't having no nonsense. It was like, either you gonna be with us or we gonna get out there. But yeah, that was it, and we had to get in line. So we had some great role models, guys that showed us what it took to win day in, day out.
Yeah, you guys were a joy to watch, man. There's no doubt about it. You were one of my favorite teams to watch in the 90s. You're always just lightning on offense. I'll never forget that play against the Jets. Did you know that play was coming, by the way, where Marino faked the spike and then threw the touchdown? Did you know that was coming?
I talked about this before, and we practiced all week. They never really showed that play in practice, at least not when we came together as a team, because you have different drills. And maybe in 707 they worked on it or whatever. But anyway, we get in the game. You go back and watch that play. You can tell none of the offensive line knows what happened. People saying clock. So you take a step, and you kind of like move because you see the D lineman trying to like rush again. So it's just a natural reaction. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so after the game, we went up to him like, hey man, why y'all didn't tell us? They said, no, we didn't tell y'all because y'all would have messed the play up. I'm like,
exactly.
We gonna mess the play. We not outs and nothing. It was funny. I'm just glad it worked, but maybe they knew something we didn't know. But yeah, it made us look kind of goofy. That's the thing I really like about that play. I watch it. People are posted every night, and I would just shake my head. But I'm glad we got the touchdown. I'll take that one for the team. I'll take it for the team.
Legendary play, no doubt about it. That's
wow. Wow. One of the things that kind of stand out, I'm a kind of an OG, and I grew up watching and loving a lot of '90s football. Your matchups with Bruce Smith were some of the most highly anticipated must-see TV. That if you were a football fan back then, and it was Bills Dolphins, that's the matchup that you kind of wanted to see. Bruce Smith, all-time sack leader. You've given up only 3.5 sacks to Bruce Smith during your entire career in as far as matchups against Bruce Smith. He had a .61 sack per game average against the Miami Dolphins, which was the lowest against any team that he's ever played at least twice. When you were going up against Bruce Smith and the Buffalo Bills, did you prepare any differently because it was Bruce Smith, or did you kind of treat him, hey, this is just another guy I got to go out there and get in his way and make sure he doesn't get to my quarterback?
No, it's the reason, people know Bruce Smith is Bruce Smith and Reggie White. I put those guys in a different class. And I mean, the rivalry didn't help at all because they don't like the Dolphins and we didn't like them. So that was just an incentive to go play. And then when you have to go to Buffalo, you really got to be on your P's and Q's because it's loud, you can't hear. But it was just, everybody talk about the sacks, that Bruce Smith had in this and that, but he was a hell of a guy against the run. So it wasn't like you could just kind of relax on the running plays and just worry about him. I mean, he played all 60 minutes. And so I just knew it was going to be 60 minutes. Hopefully we didn't go into overtime. If not, you got to deal with him. He's just not going to quit, and, he's going to give you bait. You got to a game, and it's going to take a couple days to recover after playing a guy like that. But it's just, that's why he's one of the best to ever lace him up, and he's in the upper echelon of guys that when you look at the defensive end position, you probably see his picture in the dictionary.
Yeah, still all-time sack leader, right? I mean, not too bad going up against him, Richmond. I mean, if that doesn't say it all, then I don't know what does. But I see you wearing, you're repping your Texas A&M right now. You got your shirt on, all right? You got the Aggie thing going on over here, and I get it, because we got 3 possible first-rounders coming out of your school. We got a couple of guys named Shamar Stewart and Shamar Turner, and Nick Scarleton, who are all either edge rushers or defensive linemen, however you want to call them. But they're all being scouted and touted high, and they all did well in the showing out. And again, your school could be showing maybe 3 guys in the first round. Do you have any info on these dudes and how they played this year? And do you think that they're going to be first rounders, if any of them?
I know Nick before the season. I know they talked about him. He's probably averaged 10 sacks even before he transferred in from, I want to say, Purdue. But played this last year. But I think the defensive line was probably one of the strongest areas on the Aggie team this past year. And, we started having some injuries down the line that kind of affected the outcome of the season. But him, Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, I think it was this Stewart guy that really just tested like a freak at the combine, like 40-inch vertical, broad jump, almost feet. And so I saw a post where they compared him to Myles Garrett. Their numbers were really, really close. Wow. So, Myles Garrett was a number 1 pick. I'm not saying, he's not going to be number 1, but he probably, that really just, he'll probably definitely move up. So it'll be good for him. I think he's got the talent, but I think he still has to work on some pass rush moves. If they get that, he's going to be a monster because he's got the athletic ability. So it'll be good for Aggies and it'll be good for recruiting and stuff. If, 3 guys in the first round, because then other guys say, okay, I need to go there because if they got players like that, I want to go there and be developed as well. That'll be definitely good for the Aggies if that happens.
Yeah, no doubt, man. All right, we will see what happens in the first round, early second round, whatever it is. Well represented, your school over there. David, I think you got one more, and then Kenny's got a couple of rapid-fire questions he's going to shoot at you, Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah, real quick. We hear all the time about how great these athletes are of today, and, they always like to compare generations. Do you think athletes are better today, or how much better do you think athletes are today than they were a couple generations ago, or do you even think that that's true at all?
I'll say it like this. I think they train year round. I think that kind of started up under me. I think the mid-90s is when they start putting in the off-season workout programs and that. And then I go back and look at guys that played like before me, like say the Joe Greens and all that. A lot of those guys, they would play professional football, but then they would have to go get a job in the off-season to supplement their income because they just were making it. So I think some guys would transcend generations no matter. So if they were good then, they will be good now because they will be doing what it takes to be at the top of their game. So I ain't gonna say they're better. I just think it's been more information. It's just like a computer when I was in high school was like obsolete compared to what you can do. You can do that on an iPhone and it'll outperform probably what I had on a computer. So it's just allowing me and just knowing more information and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm happy for the guys that's playing now, but I love the generation that I played in. So I think we could play either with the guys before or the guys now. It's just we just got older now, but the mentality hadn't changed. But that's the way I look at that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thinking that you can play with any generation, so I totally agree with that.
That's what I say in my mind. But if they told me to go lace them up, I'd be like, "Nah, I need to stay." I got too old, man.
If you could play, you could play. Bottom line, I just think that in college now they try to get a little more prepped up and ready because they're working on their name, image, and likeness, hence the NIL and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, listen, man, you did it, and you did it well for a very, very long time. And I know Kenny's got a few things he wants to shoot at you now before we get into a couple more things, to believe it or not. We got some time, so go ahead, Kenny.
Okay.
All right. Richmond, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm honored that you graced us here. We're very excited to have you, and we're big fans. So we're going to push you all year for the Hall of Fame. We're behind you.
Absolutely.
We're going to let everyone
Absolutely.
know that you're the guy. So I want to ask you some questions. I had the pleasure of watching your wife. Is it Chandra or Chandra?
Chandra. Yeah.
Chandra. I watched her on a show called La Huddle with a French guy. I thought it was really interesting, and I wanted to dig deeper into your life and get some different stuff besides all the interviews that I watched. So I thought of some funny true or false questions to ask you.
Okay.
True or false, Richmond? Wait, let's see. Bruce Smith was your mortal enemy. True or false?
True.
True.
I love it. No hesitation.
Right.
Oh, right. I wouldn't expect anything else.
Here's another
Well,
one.
no. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is friends off the field. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But when I came into the league, I came from A&M, so our big rivalry in college, like Texas, schools, and back then in the Southwest Conference, it was 7, 8 schools. It was 8, 7 of them was in the same state of Texas. So all schools are competing for the same athletes. So it was just rivalry after rivalry. So I went to Miami and we go play the first game up in Buffalo. And I'm like, man, I knew it was a rivalry, but I mean, it was just hostile, right? And I was like, I ain't understand it. And so the next time I had to go up there, back then we used to have media guys. Everything's digital now. So people be like, what is that? So I started reading about the history between the Dolphins and the Bills, right? And so in the 70s, I think the Dolphins beat the Bills 20 times in a row. And I said, oh, that's what it is. So that was back when OJ said, you get not put on your head 20 times in a row, you're not gonna like them. So it just grew, but no, I have tremendous respect for Bruce. We're good friends. If he's got on Buffalo and I got on Miami, yeah, we enemies. But other than that, after the game, we was cool. So yeah.
Okay. So just on the field, mortal enemies, but besides that,
just on the field, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, man, they wore the same numbers, so you had to be somewhat friends in some sort of
Right.
way.
Right.
All right, Richmond. True or false? Sunday is for church.
For me, it is. Yeah. Sunday is for church, and the good thing is we go early, so I still get home to be able to watch the game, what comes on Sundays. And then I love getting on Twitter and watching the game with Dolphin fans because we kind of go back and forth, and that. So I got to go to church, but then I got to get my football in too. So yeah, you're correct.
I bet those fans love that. That's awesome that you do that. True or false, Richmond? You made little to no sacrifices to become a football player.
I would say that's false. I think anytime you got to put the work in. So one of the things as far as sport, my parents always said you got to keep your grades up, and they were always keep your education, and they always said you can sports for so long, whether it's college or whatever. They never even projected that I would go into the pros, but they were just saying if you get an education, you'll be able to take care of yourself. That was the main thing. My parents pushed in the household, so got my college degree and all that, and so that made them happy. But yeah, anything you're gonna be successful at, you got to put the work in here. So I definitely had some sacrifices.
Quick follow up on that one. You read the Bible every day.
I try to. I might miss every now and then, but I got the Bible app on my phone and read my Bible every day. And man, it helps me mentally, physically. It just helps me throughout life. And God's been good to me, and He brought me this far. I know He ain't gonna leave me. So I'll leave Him before He leave me, but I ain't gonna leave Him. So I want to stay close to Him.
All right.
Amen to that.
God don't leave us, man. You know that. God don't leave us.
He don't leave us. We
forever.
might leave Him, but He don't leave us.
True or false? This one's from the fans, okay? True or false? Don Shula told you privately that Super Bowl III was rigged.
No, that's false.
Okay.
What?
Okay,
Oh man,
that was a fan question. That was.
oh man, was that a Buffalo fan? They trying to get me?
I don't know. Man,
Probably was. Probably was.
Oh man,
Okay.
that's a good one, there, Kenny. I wasn't ready for that one, man.
There you go. All right, true or false? You are not a very competitive person.
I am. I think I'm more of a passive aggressive person. So I'm pretty calm off the field unless I'm watching sports or something and it's one of my teams playing. And if it's not going well, I'm not a happy person. But sometimes I can hide it. But if it's pretty bad, I can't hide it. But normally I try to stay under control, but every now and then you'll see that side come out every now and then.
Okay. All right, one last true or false question. You almost became a basketball player. True or false?
I'll say I played basketball in high school. So I was a football player, but I liked basketball better. So I chose the right sport to play because, if I wouldn't even like visual. Maybe a little small school I could have played because I was a center in high school, and then 6'6", 6'7", and then you got guys 7 foot and that. So I chose the right sport, and I like to eat, and so I would have been gaining weight. I probably wouldn't have been too.
All right. One quick follow up, and then I think we're going to let you go. Is it true your daughter may be the next great WNBA player?
She played. You know what, man? That's the tough part because she was pretty good in high school, and then coming into a year, she tore her ACL, and so she had to miss her ACL. And she was coming along really good, and then she liked basketball, but she didn't love basketball, so it was different. So for me, that was tough because I could see the potential and athleticism, but she didn't love it. So I had to just kind of come to terms with it. And but she graduated, and then she's graduating with a master's from Texas A&M, and she'll be in finance. So I'm happy she's doing what she's doing. But yeah, I was trying to live through it, but she killed my dream, man. She still love it like I said.
You were trying to will it.
I was trying, but it didn't work.
That's great talking to you, Richmond. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Oh, that's all right. Little technical difficulty that happens.
Mm.
I'm all done.
No, we're back. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, those
Kenny,
are
I
good
like that
questions,
rapid
man.
fire. Not bad.
I'm gonna put
Richmond, man.
Next time, Jason. Yeah, he was throwing. I'm trying to put the weed, but yeah, he kept tagging me. I couldn't miss that jab, man. He kept jabbing me with the question.
Had to be on guard right there, right? Had to be George Foreman big paws right there and be careful of that. Oh man, yo, Richmond, it's been such a pleasure, bro. I appreciate you coming on. It's been great talking with you again, man. It's been a while, and let's not make it that long again next time. All right, thanks a lot, bro. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen. Y'all have a good night, man. I appreciate it, and like I said, we always have fun. So yeah, we'll definitely do it. Hopefully, it won't be as long next time, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey,
man.
real quick,
Go ahead.
Mr. Webb, before you go, do you have any charities or anything that you want to plug, or anything that you want us to maybe let the people know that anything that you're involved in before we let you go?
No, I donated a little bit to. I had a couple of teammates and friends that were participating in the Dolphin Cancer Challenge. It's enough charities, man. I just say find one that either somebody personally that's dealing with whether it's cancer or leukemia or whatever and find it and support it, man, because the research a lot of times is what makes the difference and make the cures and stuff like that. So long as you support it, I try to support a few of them, but just find a lot of good work getting done out there. So that's what I try to tell people.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well
man.
said. No doubt.
Man of God, you know what? That's doing enough right there. You are a servant as are we all, my friends. So once again, appreciate it. We serve God. We love God. That's what we do, and that's great that you still is reading your Bible every day, going to church on Sundays, and watching your Dolphins. And next time we come on, it's going to be it may be in season. We'll see. We'll see what kind of moves they make, but we're going to have a lot of Dolphins talk next time we come on.
It sounds good. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for me on.
You too.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Richmond. All right, absolutely freaking awesome. Love that guy. He is as nice as they get. Gentle giant, right, guys? I mean, is that what the perfect
Absolutely.
definition of what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's great. I mean, so much experience. And again, going up, I love the question about Bruce Smith, obviously, going up against him all the time and having that record that he did against him, that percentage of not, allowing sacks. We're talking about the greatest sack master of all time.
And twice a year.
Twice a year, yeah. And sometimes 3 times a year because of the playoffs. I mean,
think about the numbers. Think about the numbers Bruce could have had.
Yeah,
And that's what.
Right? Good
Yeah,
point.
when I was researching that, it kind of, I'm like, wow, because Bruce Smith destroyed everybody. And there was some really good offensive linemen back then. But I'm like, man, half a sack a game basically against the Miami Dolphins overall, not just up against Richmond Webb, but half a sack a game against the Dolphins overall. And he played them, 14 or 18 times over the course of his career. That's pretty damn. That's amazing. That the people. I don't think people really grasp how that stat kind of just stands out at you. That's amazing considering who else they had. The Darryl Tallies and the Cornelius Bennetts and all the other guys that they had on that defense, not just Bruce Smith.
No doubt, man. Well said. I mean, that's. I mean, look, their offense, their K-gun offense was great. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, that defense was the reason why they got to 4 straight freaking Super Bowls. I mean, just unbelievable. That Bills defense. But yeah, Richmond Webb, he held his own, man. Unbelievable. And a great job that he did with us, and we really appreciate it. And we'll definitely have him on again. Like I said, sometime probably during the season. We'll see what the Miami Dolphins do. May bring up the Dolphins in a little bit over here, but let's get to some hot freaking news, guys, if you want. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
all
sir.
Right. So the newest news that comes out today is Trey Hendrickson, all right? We didn't know if he was going to get franchise tag, get signed by the Bengals. It looks like now they're allowing him to go seek a trade. Trey Hendrickson wants out of Cincinnati, and you know what? He's due $16 million this year, but he's asking for $30 million a year. What team is going to give that to him? I don't know, but here's why I'm okay with it, Kenny. Because Cincinnati's defense sucked with him last year, and he was the sack champion, 17
right.
and
he couldn't do more than he did.
Right. So what more could you possibly do? So you know what? Erase it, get what you can, go to the draft, do what you can do. I'm all right with that move.
I love that. I love to go with the younger guys. I'd rather have the cheap young contracts, the guys that have the heart and that hunger that the guy with the bag doesn't have anymore, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I like that. I like getting guys right out of college, young and hungry players who want the bag. That's what I want.
No doubt. No doubt. What do you think?
And I think too that when you look at, now that he's on the trading block, and Cleveland is so adamant about not trading Myles Garrett, which we all know that that's probably not going to end up true by the time the season rolls around. Trey Hendrickson, he's a few years younger. He might come a little bit cheaper as far as draft capital. He might come a little bit cheaper as far as, a few $million cheaper as far as what the money he's going to ask for. If you're a team like, we go back to the Detroit Lions and, they're the Eagles or the Commanders, all the people you talk about in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes, do those teams now turn their attention to a younger, almost just as good, potentially cheaper Trey Hendrickson and not really focus so much on Myles Garrett? What does this do to Myles Garrett up here? Because he's thinking he's going into the offseason being that number one target. And now that Trey Hendrickson, you can get him cheaper. He's a little bit younger. What do you guys think that does for him?
David, that's the thing. You know what? That's the misconception. Everybody thinks Trey Hendrickson is younger. He's 30 years old. He actually is 30 years old, so he's right there.
I thought he was like 20. I should have done my homework. I thought he was 27, 28 years old.
I'm going to tell you exactly why people think he's that age. It's because he doesn't have anywhere near the amount of mileage that Myles Garrett does. When Trey Hendrickson first came out and he was playing in the NFC with New Orleans, he wasn't playing that kind of football. He wasn't an every down type lineman. So when he got to Cincinnati, he really made a name for himself. So, yeah, people think he's younger. And in NFL age, he is younger. You're actually right about that. Maybe getting a better deal with him. That's quite possible.
I think I may have confused him with Hendricks, which was the DT they took like a year ago. I think that's what I did.
Yeah, different dude. But I don't know. So it looks like he will probably be on the move, and that just makes sense for them. What are they going to get for him? Not a first-round pick, because we're seeing Debo go for a 5th, and Christian Kirk just went for a 7th-round pick. And so I don't exactly know what you're going to get for him. But what Cincinnati is doing is clearing space, getting more money, so they can probably pay T. Higgins, which again doesn't make any sense, because I'm going to now ask you guys this question, and I brought it up once before. You do not win Super Bowls by paying wide receivers all that money. The only exemption is what happened this year, and it's a weird exemption because Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown get paid a lot of money, but they're not a passing team. Jalen Hurts only had 18 touchdown passes this year. They were a running football team, so it is skewed off the map a little bit. But for the most part, name me a team in history that brought in a wide receiver, paid him a lot of money, and won the Super Bowl. It doesn't happen. The closest that came to it was Randy Moss. It just doesn't happen. So why do it? To me, I would have rather, if I had to keep one of them, I probably would have rather have kept Hendrickson over T. Higgins, because it doesn't make sense to me. Because I think that Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, who's looking to make $40 million, they're going to get you. You already have the help that you need offensively. You need to stop teams, and you're not going to fix that in one draft.
Absolutely not. But if you do move on from Higgins and Hendrickson, this draft is really deep in the defensive tackles, defensive edges, safeties, running backs. So why not get rid of those guys? You're not going to win with them. You already know that. You couldn't have done better on offense than you did last year. And like Jason said, you couldn't get more sacks than Hendrickson did already, and it didn't help. They almost made the playoffs. So let's not overdo it. But they didn't make the playoffs with those weapons, with all the touchdowns, with all the flash. I think what they might be doing is just going with the fact that they're not going to win, but the people are still going to come see Chase, T, and Jamar. Jamar Chase, Burrows, and they still want to see that when they come to the games. They know they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they do want to see all those touchdowns thrown. They do.
And I agree with that too. And I don't think, if you're Cincinnati, if you were to sign, because Chase is coming up, if you were to re-sign T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, and then Burrow is going to probably ask for another bag in a couple of years, you're probably talking like 30 to 40% of your entire salary cap, even with the bump this year. You're probably looking at a third, maybe 40% of your salary tied up in 3 or 4 players. And we've seen over the course of history that doesn't always win you Super Bowls. Like you say, Philadelphia was kind of the exception this year, but the thing with Philadelphia is that they had so much talent everywhere else that it was almost an afterthought that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were on the team. Like you said, 18 touchdown passes for Hurts, and Saquon dominated the headline for the Eagles. So if I'm the Bengals, like you say, I kind of semi-blow things up. I go on the draft. The draft is huge for defensive linemen. There's good edge rushers out there, Pierce and Scourton, and they probably won't get a guy like Abdul Carter, but there's a lot of good defensive linemen out there. Not as deep as the wide receivers as you would think, but you can probably go out and get one of the top free agents now and probably get them cheaper than the $26 to $30 million that you'd end up paying T. Higgins.
Yeah, man. I did my mock draft, and let me tell you something, guys. It is filled with not that I know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm not no fucking Kuiper Jr., but it is filled with defensive linemen. It's filled with defensive linemen.
A lot of D linemen.
Everybody could pick a defensive lineman in the first round. It seems. I know there's probably 10 to 15 really good, mid to upper tier potential prospects. So teams that are looking for defensive line help, it's probably just a draft pick away.
Yeah.
You can get multiple.
How about this other news that came out today? DK Metcalf, sleepless in freaking Seattle, apparently. Maybe DK Decaf.
Decoy.
I see what you did there.
I know. You see, I know primetime quote onto that one right there. So he's not getting any sleep over there in Seattle, obviously, because he wants to be traded. He's out. Tyler Lockett is already out. They showed that Jackson Smith-Njigba is their number one guy. So they're probably going to have to bring in somebody else as it is. But who may be a good trading partner for DK Metcalf? I mean, there's a lot of teams out there. I listed a couple of them. Stop me when you guys think we got a good one over here. Patriots, Bills, Steelers, Texans. I mean, I don't think they're going to keep Stephon Diggs. The Chargers may need a wide receiver. The Broncos need wide receivers. I think Denver needs to be aggressive and go get some fucking wide receivers, right?
Absolutely.
I got
we
another
talked
team.
about it last week. Who's that?
Chiefs.
I think they're good because you know what? They're going to get back Rashee Rice. They got now Worthy and Mark and Hollywood Brown. I think they're all right. But it would still work. I'll give you that.
I don't think Kansas City would really have the draft capital. Unless you're talking, unless they're willing to settle for pick number 28 for the next 2 or 3 years.
They've been doing.
If you give up 2 or 3 first-round picks for DK Metcalf, it may not take that much, but they were also talking about the Packers. They say the Packers were waiting. Somebody in the Packers organization kind of saw this coming, so that the Packers were actually kind of chomping at the bit. So they might be one of the front runners. Oh, my God, that would suck if you're a Lions fan to have to go up against DK twice. You can't stop him when you got to go up against him once a season when they're putting up video game numbers, and now he could potentially be in your division, twice a year. So, but yeah, the Broncos, the Bills, it didn't work out the last time the Bills had a big time wide receiver, with Stephon Diggs. I don't know if it was just him or the climate or whatever it was, but the Bills definitely need a receiver. They need a receiver, but it's just a matter of if DK would be that guy.
Yeah, I think maybe somebody like, Kenny? I think maybe Cooper Kupp fits in a little bit better with the Bills system. I think that he'd be more of like a scat guy, get open, put him in the slot a little bit. I
Not the Chargers?
The Chargers, I'm not going to say
they
no.
Need him.
They need
Cooper
him.
Kupp?
I feel like I could look at Devontae Adams with the Chargers. I mean,
That's what I'm hearing. Devontae to the Packers.
That would be weird. Now, I heard what David said
It
before.
would be.
It would be
DK Metcalf to the Packers, I have heard. And I heard them maybe trying to swap wide receivers with Dontavian Wicks and maybe a Jalen Reed. But I was thinking more they want like a Jair Alexander or something like that. Maybe get a corner.
Makes more sense. I wouldn't do it for Dontavian Wicks.
No, and I think Jair's going to end up on the trading block anyway, so that might not be too far-fetched.
Yeah, Jair's probably gone for sure.
Yeah, looks like Jair is gone. Yeah, I think he's out of there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The Cowboys got to try to do something. So they restructured Dak's contract a bit to free up like $36 million in cap space. That's going to help. That's not going to get you everything you need. I mean, did they do that so they can just go pay Micah Parsons? If that's the case, then this team is not going to get any better at all anytime soon. I mean, Dallas is like, how there's karaoke? They're karaoke. They fucking are just the worst. I don't know what they're doing. Mr. Primetime, explain to me what's going on in Dallas.
I'm like you, man. I have no clue. I think this is another, Jerry Jones special where you look at Dallas in the offseason. They build up all the hope. Dallas, this is their year. This is their year. This is their year. And it ends up another year of not necessarily sucking, but not meeting expectations. Right. I ask you guys this: do you think Micah Parsons even really wants to stay in Dallas? I mean, that's my biggest question. If I'm a Cowboys fan going into this, even with the money, does Micah Parsons even want to be a Cowboy?
Kenny, you think he just wants the money? You think he gives a shit where he goes, or is it all about the money for him?
Well, listen, this is going way back, but I wanted to stay where we had our pick. When we took Trey Lance and gave away all our first-round picks for the next 4 years, what I wanted to do was wait and take Micah Parsons. Had we had Micah Parsons and Bosa on the same team, we would have had at least one Super Bowl in the last 4 years. So I'm mad about that. So,
well, you just said Bosa, so you struck another chord because Joey. Oh, were you going to say something, David? Before I move on?
No. Go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder. Go ahead.
Okay, yep. I was going to say, because Joey Bosa is now being released from the Chargers. So there you go. And Khalil Mack is a free agent. So, I mean, maybe they're thinking defense, but Joey Bosa, they save a lot of money, $25 million. So it's a smart move by the Chargers. I understand why they did it. And I also get the fact that he's often injured. So he's not a player that I would want to spend a lot of money on. But he could help a team that's right there, like the Buffalo Bills. Their name comes up again, like the Washington Commanders. These kind of teams, maybe even the Packers. I don't know. Prime time. What comes to your mind?
I was thinking, they were talking about the Detroit Lions might kick the tires on Joey Bosa. And like you say, he's not going. My biggest concern, if you do that, you already have Aiden Hutchinson who's coming back. He's not going to be 100% probably until, week 5 and beyond of the season. Yeah. Joey Bosa, you don't know if you're going to be able to count on him he hasn't played he's played 28 games the last 3 years or something like that. So
18.
you really don't. Yeah, 18. Oh, so you can't count on him. And the best ability is what, guys?
Availability.
Exactly. So, and then, the only positive side, whoever gets him, you're going to probably get him for a lot cheaper than what he's currently, what he would currently make if he was to stay with the Chargers. So I could see him as maybe a Detroit Lion, but I don't think he'd be an every down player. And that if they keep Zadarius Smith, the rotation with Aiden Smith and Bosa could potentially give you what one Myles Garrett would give you. But if I'm the Lions, I'm still looking top tier. We want the Oreo cookie. We don't want the Hydrox. We want the Fruit Loops, not the Fruitios, as they said here in Detroit.
David,
so
you said about his price is what scares me because I see the Niners going crazy over this. Oh, right. We got to have the bookends. We got to have the Bosa bookends. We tried the Buckeye bookends that blew up in our face. Now we're going to go Bosa bookends. We're going to end up with 2 edges on IR at the same time. So we're going to
right. Yeah, it's probably a couple years too late. Late for that.
Exactly. Do that 3 years ago, not now.
Yeah. Right. No, I'm with you. All right. I want to get into something that I wanted to get into last week, but we ran out of time because we were having so much damn fun. And I know that we're coming up 10 minutes on an hour, but I like to try to get through this. And Kenny, I know this is going to be near and dear to your heart. And Mr. Primetime, I know I'm going to get as objective as an opinion as I possibly can get from you. Brock Purdy, here's the conversation. I want to go through a few quarterbacks. I want to compare him to a few quarterbacks. But here's what I would say first. If I sit down Brock Purdy, I tell him, Brock, you're going to make more money than you ever imagined in your entire life. We're going to give you $40 million. All right? Take it. You're not going to get that anywhere else. Go test the market if you really wanted to, because it's not going to freaking happen. You're going to get $40 million from us. They may even guarantee $100 million out of $120 million over the next 3 years. If they do a 4-year contract, $160, offer him $100 million, $110 guaranteed. I think that's what you do if you're the 49ers and almost give him like an ultimatum. Yes, you're going to have to negotiate. I understand that, but I'm at the point where you got to explain to him, Kenny, you go first on this one. If you want to win a championship and you want to be remembered, especially here in San Francisco, where Joe Montana and Steve Young are legends forever, you're going to have to conform and have the kind of players that they had around them at that time. And that means taking less money and not being filthy greedy and taking $55, $60 million because that's what the market commands. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, that would be great. He seems like a nice, humble kid who has more than enough before he even became a football player. So he may be someone who would consider that. The problem is that he's got family, friends, his agent, who he hired to get the best deal for him. That's what you do with an agent. I understand that his agent is kind of new to this. He's not some like slick LA agent or anything like that.
Drew Rosenhaus.
He's not. Yeah, he's not the guy from right. He's not going to get you. Show me the money. None of that. But what I will say is that he's not. He's going to still go do his due diligence or go through the protocols as usual. He's going to get as much as he can. I think that's what he'll do. Will he play ball a little bit if it gets to like a hardcore negotiation and it's starting to get close to, camp and getting back to work? It may get down to like that. You know how the Niners don't sign people sometimes until like a week before the season if they don't really like you. But I think they love Brock. And here's how I know. They could have started with $40 million, but they started at $45 million. Yeah. And so I feel like they usually lowball people, and a lot of people are going to say they did. I actually don't think they lowballed him this time. I think they gave him a good price. I looked at what other quarterbacks make, and where I thought he belonged was, and I said this to you privately, Jason, was $46 million to $51 million. In between there, I can live with. Will he take that? I don't know, because his agent's sole purpose is to get the most money.
All right, Mr. Primetime. Kenny says somewhere between 46 and 51 million. Are you giving Brock Purdy that much money?
I'd probably on the low end of that. Here's why. You guys, we talked about this before. It's time for the 49ers to put up or shut up. And I'm not sure. I know that they would be willing to pay him $40-45 million a year, but are they doing that because they have to, because they can't get anybody else, or because they truly believe that Brock Purdy is the guy that can get them to the Super Bowl? When you look at what's going on with the 49ers right now, I still don't think they're sold on IU. CMC is aging. You already get rid of Debo. Their defense, they could probably use a couple of pieces here and there.
Here, there, and everywhere.
You guys would know this better than me because you're 49er fans, but the offensive line could probably use a little bit of tweaking. The most solid piece you probably have right now on your offense is George Kittle. And if you're Brock Purdy, yes, Kenny, to your point, it's all about getting the bag. But if I'm John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and I'm really sitting man to man, with a couple of shots of Jack Daniels, and we're sitting down and we're talking about this, do we pay Brock because we believe in Brock, or do we pay Brock? Are we paying Brock simply because we really don't have any other options out there? So, you guys are the experts on the 49ers, but just from the outside looking in, there's a lot of other questions to me that the 49ers have to answer other than what do we pay Brock Purdy?
Yeah, it's interesting. And a lot of people say you can just put any quarterback in there. No, I'm sorry. This is not true. You can't just put any quarterback in there.
No.
Brock Purdy does a really good job in this system. And I hate to say just in the system because maybe he could be successful elsewhere. I don't know. But in this system, he is fitting what we do. But again, you need the players around him. So the Niners are going to have to make moves. I don't think that IU can – Pearsall are going to cover it with an aging George Kittle, even though Kittle, like you said, probably is our most consistent offensive weapon with McCaffrey now getting hurt, and he's probably going to continue to get hurt, unfortunately. Let's find out where Brock Purdy does lie. I'm going to go through a few quarterbacks over here. You're going to tell me if he's better or worse. I'm going to give you the amount of money that they make. Whether you take that into account or not is up to you. All right, Mr. Primetime. Dak Prescott. He makes $60 million a year, or did, restructured his contract a bit. But do you like Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott?
For the money that I could potentially get Brock for, I'd take Brock Purdy. Dak Prescott is not a freaking $60 million quarterback, not a $50 million quarterback. I'd give me Brock Purdy on that one.
All right, Kenny?
That's an easy one. My man already has more playoff wins than I don't know, Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott combined, probably. And that's
say that loud for the people in the back, you damn Lamar Jackson fans.
That's right. And you know what? Something else, like you said, Jason, you got to protect Brock. He's incredibly accurate, and like you nailed it. In our system, he is money. And so protect him the last 2-3 years. Maybe we have a couple Super Bowls. His arm doesn't get ripped off. Things like that.
Right, no doubt about it. That was unfortunate. We could have been to another Super Bowl. You're right. Well, let me give you another quarterback here, and this one may be a tough one for you. Try to take the bias out of it, Kenny, when I get to you. Mr. Primetime, you first. Jordan Love, who is making $55 million a year. MVP last year.
You know what? Here, Kenny. This one's for you. This one's for both of you. I'd take for the money. I take Brock Purdy. I think Jordan Love. He's already been he was hurt twice last year. I think he started off the season in Brazil where they playing. He got hurt there, and then I think he had ankle injury, groin injuries. So he's been hurt probably 3 or 4 times already in the 2 years that he's been starting. So I, as an NFC North fan, am already starting to have questions about his durability. Even though the Packers, I think they still won 12 games last season, but you got to start questioning his durability for the long run, especially at $55 million. So flip a coin, give me, you guys got me sold on this one. I'm going to go with Brock.
All right, no doubt. And Kenny, you know that I've been down on Jordan Love more than other people because I'm not really sold on him. I'm not saying he's a dumb quarterback at all, but I think between the ears he can use a little bit of help because he's got all the physical attributes. But to you, Kenny, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, what do you got?
Easily Brock Purdy.
Okay.
even after this contract, he's going to be cheaper than Jordan Love, I think. And
Yep.
he doesn't
Yep.
choke in big moments. He actually does a good job when the game is on the line, not throw interceptions. Pretty much, you can hate on Brock Purdy's interceptions. Last year was a tough year. I don't want to get too down on any Niner. We were decimated by injuries. We had a terrible defense. Our special teams, as usual, was crap. We had a lot of issues. So I don't want to get too down on him, but.
All right, let's go with our next one. All right, this one is another toughie, but he's had a couple of down seasons in a row. But again, all the ability in the world, and we're wondering, which guy is this guy? Is he the guy that went to the playoffs a couple of years ago, or is he the guy that's fallen down? And that would be Trevor Lawrence, who is also making $55 million. David.
Man, this guy has been the hottest quarterback commodity, since he was a junior in high school, so we're talking probably 6, 7, going maybe 8, 9 years now that all you hear is Trevor Lawrence. The best thing he's got going for him is that hair. They just let Christian Kirk, or they traded Christian Kirk. They're cutting Evan Ingram, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yep.
They're cutting Evan Ingram. So their wide receiver position is going to be thin. That's probably going to be something that they're going to look for in the draft. Man for man, again, this is 3 in a row, man. Give me Brock Purdy. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million a year. You're paying for the name because he's giving you absolutely nothing as far as results.
I agree. Yeah. Well said. Go ahead, Kenny.
Brock, 100%. I despise Trevor Lawrence since day one. He hasn't had the best situations. I will say that, but he's a guy who led in interceptions and fumbles every year. He was one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league in turnovers. Last year he only had 10 interceptions. Or 8 interceptions. Do you want to know why? Because he only played 10 games. And so there would have been a lot more, even though I will say he seemed to be trending down on his turnovers, which a lot of quarterbacks do after a few years. But Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the best guy in that draft, and look what's happened to him.
Man, look at this. All right, so we already got Brock Purdy over Prescott, Jordan Love, and Trevor Lawrence, taking into account how much money they make. Names you're not going to hear because we're not going to compare them to Mahomes and Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, and Jaden Daniels. I think we can all agree on that all those guys are better than Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I can't argue that at all.
I won't argue.
Yeah.
Right. I won't.
I mean, we'll
say that for another
I don't think it's worth doing because those guys are very good quarterbacks, and Brock, he's got his issues. I think they are better.
But you know what? Real quick, and Jason, I know you got a couple more. Real quick, Brock Purdy for the 49ers reminds me a lot of what Jared Goff is going through with the Detroit Lions. Everybody, he's not that good. He's not that good. But he fits what we need him to do. Yeah, so at the end of the day, people talk about system quarterbacks. Every quarterback is a system quarterback. Every player is a system player. So if Brock Purdy fits what the Niners need with Kyle Shanahan, and Jared Goff fits what Dan Campbell needs with the Detroit Lions, to me, they kind of mirror each other. It was kind of ironic they met in the playoffs a couple years ago because they both go through the same thing with their fan bases and with people who really don't watch either team closely. They fit. They're not going to wow you with 20-yard runs and 70-yard bombs down the field, but they fit what your coaching staff and your system needs them to do, and that's to me what makes them good.
That's what you want. That's exactly what you want. So when someone tries to down talk your quarterback by calling them a system quarterback, they don't understand football because that's what you want. No. You want the perfect quarterback for your system.
Exactly. Yeah, well said, guys. All right, let's do a few more. How about this one? Another guy who's making over $50 million a year, $53 million a year for Tua Tagovailoa. Damn, wow. Kenny, he's making a lot of money.
No, I'm immediately off that guy, strictly on the fact that he should be in a hospital right now with things attached to him and fully recover.
Breathing IV, tubes and
oxygen IV, all of it.
His family's got to decide if they're going to pull the plug, for God's sake. Jeez.
And we got a friend, her name is Melissa. She's from Jersey, and she also hates Tua because knowing his issues with his head, he will try and tackle people after an interception with his head. Did you see that? He hit DeMar Hamlin after Hamlin came back. He hit Hamlin in the chest with his helmet trying to scramble.
Mhm.
Like, this is the shit that, like, you got to think about.
I
And
thought he
so
was a little smarter than that.
he's also
Yeah, I'm
willing
not-
to play no matter what. He doesn't care what happens, and that's reckless.
And you almost have to wonder if that's just strictly driven by money. I mean, he's already made he's made a decent bag in a few years he's been playing. He's got to start thinking about long-term health. And I also think that, and I don't want to say this because, it's always speculation, but how much of the Dolphins organization kind of leaning into this too, saying, hey man, kind of leaning, pushing him to play right now because they really don't have any other alternatives either. Miami right now is one of those teams that they are destined to go one way or the other. And I think this season here is going to tell a lot about the next 3-4 years of the Miami Dolphins. They're right there. It's like they can go up, maybe compete for the division, but I can just as easily see them being a 6-11 football team with no quarterback halfway through the year.
Yeah.
If he misses half the game,
Yeah, so give me Brock again. Give me Brock.
All right. I think this one's going to be tough, okay? And maybe the money has something to do with it because it's about what Brock is probably going to make, and that's $46 million for Kyler Murray. Mr. Primetime, talk to me.
Oof, oof, oof. The little fella continues to amaze us year after year with the stats that he puts up. I think with the Cardinals, the big mistake that they've made is that they go halfway in. The Cardinals, they don't go all in. Okay, we'll give you Marvin Harrison, but we're not going to give you too much else. We'll give you a decent defense, but we're not going to give you too much. It's like they get right up to the line, and then they decide to they're that team that is afraid to turn their volume up to 10 because they're afraid of blowing their speakers instead of really getting to appreciate how good the music is when you got the volume on 10. So. And that's not all Kyler Murray's fault. I know the organization has a lot to do with that too. But if I'm going dollar for dollar, because this one's a little bit more equal than some of the other ones you mentioned, I'd probably still go with Brock Purdy simply because I've seen what Brock Purdy can do when healthy, and we've seen a healthy Kyler Murray throughout most of his career, and we haven't seen any results. So give me Brock Purdy. I think, what is that, 5 for 5, 6 for 6 for Brock Purdy right now? He's on a roll, baby.
He really is on a roll right now. I know he's listening to the show and he's loving this right now.
Of course.
He's just not chiming
While he's
in.
on his track.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Kenny, do I even have to ask?
What is this? Which one are we talking about? Which quarterback?
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray,
Kyler
I
Murray.
never loved Kyler Murray. I don't know how you win Rookie of the Year when you're 5-12. I don't really get that. I was never.
What the hell was
I
that?
don't understand that. He used to be like a threat to run. I feel like that's a lot less now when they have their running back that they have now. I don't know why I can't think of his name, but he's a very good running back. You guys know who he is.
For who?
For the Cardinals, the running back for the Cardinals.
Oh, James Conner.
Right. So with him now, I don't think he has to run as much. What I liked about him was that he would scramble and make a play, but like in the last couple of years, I just haven't seen that much from him. It may be the weapons around him or whatever. That's fine. His O-line isn't amazing from what I understand, but like he's just not the same player. But Brock is super accurate. His timing is incredible. His cadence, his processing, and his scrambling escapability and his like get off, whatever, that like first step that he takes is as good as Lamar Jackson's. I'm going Brock still.
This is the first time I'm hoping that 49ers management isn't listening to the show, or because I don't want them giving him all this money or Brock.
They're going to pay him $70 million after this show.
I know, Jesus Christ! Oh my God! All right, I got two more for you guys. I got two more before we get out of here. David, this one's going to be a tough one because he's proven himself now to be a really good player, and we weren't sure, but again, put him in the right system, and we see what happens. With Baker Mayfield, who's only making $33 million a year.
Wow.
That's that. Baker. I've done. Baker is my Allen Iverson of the NFL. I didn't like him the first few years, but Baker has made me a fan. His competitiveness is probably second to none. He kind of. I'm not going to say he picked up where Tom Brady left off, but he made sure that ship, no pun intended, didn't totally sink. He's got a couple of aging receivers. He's got a good running back with Bucky Irving. You're not going to find probably a more all-in competitor in the league than Baker Mayfield. That guy he wears his heart on his sleeve. He gives his all every single week. I don't know because I don't know. This is a tough one, but I would probably, all things being considered, you kind of look at the overall scope of things, and I would again have to probably go with Brock Purdy. Now for the money, if you're talking just dollar for dollar, it's probably Baker Mayfield. But if you're talking result and what you could see in the next couple years, if you're putting on your crystal ball there, Jason, if you're using your crystal ball, I think Brock Purdy is going to take you farther with the 49ers than what Baker Mayfield can do. Baker Mayfield, to me, has gotten about all he can get out of this Bucs team right now. So I think it's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy.
Love it, man. Wow. How about that? Kenny, I know your eyes are open wide for a lot of reasons because I know that you are a Baker Mayfield fan. So
I
this
am.
It's a little tough for you right now. I know you're hurting on this one. I see it in your eyes. Look like you're having a sour apple right now or something like that.
I got one of those like quick 2-second thunderstorms in your temple that happened. I got one of those. I love Baker. Like you said, I've always liked Baker ever since I've been on doing lives. I've for some reason just always been praising Baker. But in this case, I still like Brock, even with the money that Baker's making. Remember, Baker's only making that money because he was like in a little gutter for a little while. Nobody thought he was worth anything. He's underpaid. He's underpaid. Yeah, and so I credit that a lot too, and we talked about this too during fantasy and pick'ems all last year. I like how Baker worked with Liam Cohen. I think Liam Cohen made Baker and Bucky and all those guys look really friggin' good. Not that they weren't good already. I just think it really worked with Liam Cohen. He's gone now. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I'm still taking Brock because of the playoff wins and because of the fact that they met last year. The Niners were not a good team. They just got back from a bye week, so that's nice. But still, Baker and Tampa should have been able to beat the Niners last year, and we still beat them. And so I got to go Brock.
All right, man. Look, I got one more for you guys, and it looks like we're calling Brock Purdy a top 10 quarterback, which is what I wanted to see, is what we were going to get at or not. He might.
I knew you had a motive for this. I knew it. You sly dog. I knew it. I knew it. I knew you had something up. Damn it. You're going to make me say it.
Then you're going to love what I got for you right now because I'm going to hit you right in the gut with this one. Is it Brock Purdy or
Daniel
Jared Goff? Jared
Goff. You.
Jared
Kenny, go first.
Jared Goof, not a fan.
Oh,
Jared Goof. Boy.
He plays in a dome. Lucky you. That's nice.
Wow, here we go.
Temperature controlled spot.
Here we go.
No, he's a good quarterback. He's always been a good quarterback. He was drafted early. He's a tall guy. He's got a nice arm. I just think, like Brock, and
you hear him? This is shade. He's a tall guy. He's got 5 fingers. He's got 2 arms. Come on, just
both legs.
Right.
10 toes.
He's got blue eye. Right. He's got a head full of hair. Come on, man. What are we doing here?
And I
love
my
God.
The city of Detroit is beautiful. It's a nice place. It's coming back. Detroit is coming back.
I can't right now, man.
100%.
You know what?
Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is the future. Jared Goof is the past. Brock Purdy all the way.
Oh God, you know what? Here. Let's just screw it. No, I can't.
He don't know what to do with himself.
Here, you know what? I'm short circuiting right now, like the Stepford wives. I'm just sitting. I don't. Here, you know what? Head to head, Brock Purdy beat Jared Goff, and that's all I'll say about that. Head to head, he had the better game. He beat him. Jared Goff kind of crapped the bed last year in the playoffs against a rookie quarterback at home. Having said that, my heart says Jared Goff, but my head says right now for the money, give me. Damn, I can't even go to work tomorrow now. Give me Brock Purdy, man. Give me Brock
Show
Purdy.
his face at work tomorrow, talking about Brock Purdy being a top 10 quarterback. You never
Please.
in life
Man,
thought that would
I'm
happen.
gonna get killed. My people are gonna fire me.
The boss is going to
Sweeping
get
up,
fired by
just
his
sweeping up
employees.
over here.
Oh God, I
Kenny's
can't show my face.
Don't be ashamed.
You guys do know I work at General Motors, and they're like 100% Lions. I'm gonna. Oh
You're
my
gonna,
God,
you're
they're
gonna
gonna
be
see.
let go.
They're gonna
You're
slash
be
my
let go.
tires. They're gonna take my parking spot. They're gonna cut my salary. Oh Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Factory Zero. I'm sorry. Jesus, you guys did this to me. You
might
guys
have
did
an
this. I'm
HR
gonna.
meeting. You might have an HR meeting on Monday.
Oh yeah, they wear. Yeah, you walk in the labor office, all you see is Lions jerseys and banners and shit all over the place. So yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Thanks a lot, guys.
It is funny how many Lions fans have come out of the woodwork in the past couple of years. Now I got Lions fans all over my office all of a sudden. I don't know what the hell happened, but now all of a sudden everybody's from freaking Detroit. Like, all right, when was the last time you were in Michigan? Don't give me a freaking break. I don't want to hear it. Bunch of nonsense.
They're the lovable losers like the Cubs.
Yeah, really. I know. And they finally
You know what?
got
They
one.
lost almost their entire coaching staff. They got work to do.
They do get, you know what? That's true. You do got some work to do to make sure you get back to where you were. And you know, Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to be coming up. Freaking Goff is getting paid next year, right? I think that he's going to be on for like 50-something million. I think, right?
That'll be
Yeah.
fun.
So they just redid his last year. So Goff is good, but they got Jared coming up or Jahmyr Gibbs coming up next year. They got to worry about if they're going to pick up the 5th year on JMO. A year or two, they'll probably start negotiating with Aiden probably next season or the season after next. So yeah, the Lions got not only some coaching decisions to worry about, even though they got most of those jobs filled, but on the field, I think they got like 20 free agents. So there's gonna be a lot of turnover on that Lions team this year. They'll probably still be good enough to win 11, maybe 12 games, but they're not going to cakewalk to 15-2 like they did last year, and they're not. You know, that division is going to be a lot tougher, especially with Ben Johnson in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing they got a head coach that run through a brick wall for, and I'd run through a brick wall for you guys, man. I had a freaking great time tonight. Got to thank Richmond Webb so much, man. He was absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Everybody
Fins up, baby.
Papa J, got to thank all you guys. McNine, everybody who popped in today. We really appreciate you guys. Can't do the show without you, man. A lot of fun. We always go over an hour because we have so much damn freaking fun, man. It's just impossible. It's never going to be within an hour. I'm sorry. I tried, but it's not going to happen. Oh, man. Yeah. All right, fellas. We got till next Thursday. We got more stuff coming up. We're going to have more great guests for you guys coming out throughout the year. Listen, go to Power 32 Podcast on YouTube and subscribe to that shit. Like that motherfucker. Do all that. You can get all our stuff, all our podcasts, all our past interviews. Be part of all the shows coming up Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We are here for you. Ready to go. Power 32 Podcast. Baby. Kenny, prime time. Love you guys, man.
Peace out.
Great show. Great times. Thank you all. We'll see you next week. Peace.